What you're seeking isn't missing, it's just not loud. They taught you to hustle your dreams into existence. They handed you visualization scripts, affirmations to chant until your throat was raw, vision boards that looked like to-do lists, and the message, do more, try harder, imagine louder. What if they were wrong? What if manifestation isn't a battle that needs winning, but a frequency that needs tuning? Manifestation isn't hard, it's quiet. Think of possibility like a radio station that's always broadcasting every song that could ever be played. The songs are there, layered and overlapping. You don't make a new station appear, you adjust the dial. The world doesn't suddenly cooperate because you shouted your intention the loudest. It responds to the signal you are broadcasting from your whole system. Your thinking, your feeling, and the habits stored in your body. When those three layers align, the dial lands on a single clear frequency and what felt like a distant possibility begins to sound like your life. Here's why most approaches feel like they fail. They try to rewrite the playlist by force while the player is still on shuffle. You say one thing with your words while your nervous system is saying another. Your imagination plays the melody you want, but your body moves like the old refrain. The field, call it the quantum field as a metaphor, or a poetic way to understand how attention shapes experience, responds to the most consistent, dominant signal. When that signal is mixed, the field mirrors the mess. It's not punishing you. It's simply reflecting what you have actually been broadcasting. Let's make that simple. There are three layers transmitting your signal. First, thoughts. The stories you tell yourself, the focus you bring to possibility, the quality of attention you give your desire. Thoughts guide attention. They're the intention's map. Second, emotions. This is the tone of the transmission. Emotions are the volume knob. If fear is louder than curiosity, the field matches fear. If trust hums under your words, the field invites possibilities that feel like trust. Third, cellular memory. This is the body's archive, the posture, the habitual reactions, the tiny behaviors that show up under stress. It's how your body remembers being safe or unsafe, worthy or unworthy. Even if you rehearse a future in your mind, if your body tightens, your transmission carries that old pattern, and the field echoes the familiar rather than the new. When those three are mismatched, you're broadcasting static. That's why frantic affirmations often land hollow. Saying, I am abundant, while your gut tightens around scarcity, is like announcing a station and then instantly switching to static. The field hears the static. A short example. You keep saying you want a deep, trusting relationship. You watch stories about intimacy, you read the books, you even go on dates. But every time vulnerability peeks its head, your shoulders lift, you look for exits, you preempt with jokes. Your mind says connection, your body says protect. The dominant signal your system broadcasts is protection, so the field delivers encounters that confirm it. Not because you failed manifesting, because the delivery matched your nervous system's loudest message. This is why the nervous system matters so much, not as a mystical aside, but as a practical gateway. When your nervous system feels regulated, when you can return from alarm to curiosity with relative ease, you become a better observer. You can hold intention without being hijacked by reactive states. You can allow not knowing without panic. You become open to the hints and small alignments that guide you toward what you want. Imagine two states. One is the ancient survival state, fight, flight, freeze. In that state, your perception narrows. You see threats and close opportunities that seem risky. The other is a regulated state, calm, engaged, receptive. In this state, your mind expands, your creativity flows, you notice possibility. You can imagine a future and embody the small actions that match it. The field doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be coherent. Here's a quick experiment you can do right now to feel the difference between a tense signal and a regulated one. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe slowly and notice how your chest and belly move. Soften the shoulders. Think of one small moment that felt safe earlier in your day. A warm cup, a smile, a moment of sunlight. Let that sensation sit in your body for a breath. Now notice your thinking. Is there a subtle easing? If so, you just shifted your transmission. That's all it takes to make a different observation of the field. If this idea lands with you, drop a single word in the comments that names the energy you want to carry this week. One word only. We'll gather that quiet frequency together. We don't stop at theory. There are practical, simple routines that cultivate coherence across thought, emotion, and cellular memory. They don't require hours of performance or dramatic rituals. They're small habits you can do consistently, allowing identity to shift before outcome. Identity precedes outcome. Embodiment precedes manifestation. First, energetic hygiene. This is not new age avoidance, it's simple caretaking. Start your day before your phone. Wake, sit for a breath or two, and check your frequency. Ask, how am I carrying myself today? Not to judge, but to notice. A morning frequency check can be as short as 3 breaths with your hand on your heart, a soft question to yourself, and a choice. Which version of me do I want to be today? This creates an early alignment that sets a tone for the field. Second, somatic micro-practices. These are practices you can do anywhere to quickly calm your nervous system and retune your signal. Hand on heart, and 3 slow breaths is 1. Diaphragmatic breathing, breathe into a count, then exhale longer, is another. A subtle movement that opens your chest and rotates your shoulders helps counter the body's habitual constriction. Tiny rituals build trust in your body's ability to hold a new possibility. They do not promise instant transformation. They invite your cells to remember another way. Third, future memory rehearsal. This is not visualization as spectacle. It's a micro-rehearsal of a future moment, anchored in sense and feeling. Take 60 seconds. Imagine a concrete scene, a quiet detail, not the grand outcome. Imagine the texture, the light in the room, the tone of someone's voice, the small action you take. Feel the emotion the future version of you would feel, and allow it to be subtle. The goal is to plant a neural pattern that becomes familiar. Rehearse with specificity and sensory detail. Over time, your nervous system will accept this rehearsal as another remembered possibility, and your behaviors will begin to align. Fourth, one small action. This is crucial. Stop waiting for a monumental leap. Each morning, choose one small act that the future you would do. If the future you reads proposals with relaxed confidence, then today, the future you reads for 5 minutes with that calm posture. If future you returns calls promptly, then you return 1 call today. These tiny acts accumulate. They are the muscle memory of identity change. They are how the body catches up to the mind. Fifth, energetic clearing. This is about managing what you take in. Watch or read less that which leaves you rattled. Curate a feed that stabilizes rather than fragments your attention. Quick clearing can be as simple as a breath and reset after a draining interaction or a short walk to shift energy. This is not avoidance of life. It's choosing what you will let shape your transmission. Now, a practical recalibration you can use the moment stress hits. Someone texts with bad news. You feel that familiar drop in your gut. Stop. Breathe. Place a hand on your belly or your heart. Label the sensation. That's anxiety. Naming it creates a tiny gap. Take 1 breath long enough to notice that you are still present. Ask a simple question. What small aligned action is possible right now? Perhaps answer with a practical step, even if it's very small. Take it. That action shifts the body's pattern from reaction to choice, and that tiny change is highly effective for shifting your transmission. I want to be careful here and clear. These practices support regulation and growth. They are not a substitute for professional support where needed. If you have deep trauma or ongoing clinical concerns, please seek the help of a trained professional. This work is supplemental. It can make a difference alongside care, not instead of it. Let's return briefly to the metaphor of the quantum field as a model. In some interpretations, the observer effect illustrates that attention influences outcomes. We use that idea as a metaphor for how your consistent inner state influences the possibilities you notice and bring into your life. Don't let the language confuse you into thinking, I'm promising physics as proof. Think of it as a useful map for attention and alignment. A frequent mistake is confusing desire as chase with desire as becoming. Desire as chase turns into relentless pursuit. You hustle, you strain, you measure results like a scoreboard. Desire as becoming shifts the work inward. Who do you need to become to naturally attract this? The former is exhausting. The latter is quietly generative. It creates a signal that draws in opportunities consistent with who you've become. Community matters more than you might expect. Humans are social creatures we match and mirror. Surrounding yourself with people who are practicing coherence is like placing an amplifier next to your radio. Not because they do your work for you, but because their steady signal makes it easier for you to hold yours. Curate microenvironments, friends who support your growth, small groups that practice accountability in the language of embodiment rather than perfection. Even a weekly check-in with one person can sustain your frequency more than a month of solo willpower. Now I'm going to give you a compact daily micro protocol, a sequence you can do in 10 minutes each morning. It's practical, repeatable, and quiet. 1. Before your phone, sit upright. Place one hand on your heart and one on your belly if that feels safe. Breathe 3 slow, full breaths. Notice the body's temperature, tension, or ease. 2. Ask one short question aloud or silently. Who am I being today? Let an image come. Don't force it. A single word is fine. If nothing arrives, choose one. Present, curious, kind, open. Hold that word with 2 more breaths, letting the feeling approximate what that word would feel like in your body. 3. Rehearse a 60-second future memory. Picture a small specific scene you will likely experience today. A focused meeting, a peaceful conversation, a calm task completed. Notice the sensory details and one small action you take in that scene. End with an embodied affirmation. A sentence in the present tense that names an identity, not a demand. For example, I am the person who speaks with calm clarity, rather than, I will get this job. 4. Choose one small aligned action for the day. Make it tiny and achievable. A 5-minute practice, a phone call, a brief walk after lunch. Write it down. Smallness prevents overwhelm and builds trust. 5. Midday, do a frequency check. Pause for one breath in a meeting. Place a hand on your chest and ask, how am I carrying myself? Make one adjustment if necessary. Soften the jaw, stand, or drink water. That micro move recenters you. 6. In the evening, do a 2-minute review. Acknowledge one thing that moved in the right direction, even if it was small. Notice what triggered your stress and what helped calm you. Gratitude is optional here. Accuracy is the goal. Recognition trains your nervous system to notice alignment rather than obsess over lack. Follow this protocol for a week and notice what changes. The point is not perfection, it's steady signal. Consistency beats intensity. 10 quiet minutes a day will outrank a weekend of spectacle. Let me share a short vignette to illustrate the power of quiet work. A woman I worked with, call her Maya, wanted to shift into a career that felt less frantic. She tried all the usual steps, more networking, more LinkedIn posts, intense goal lists. Each time she felt visible, she also felt nauseous, rushed, and exhausted. We shifted the focus. She started a 2-minute morning tune. Hand on heart, one breath, one word. Steady. She practiced a future memory once a day before sleep. A calm negotiation, a respectful conversation. She chose one small action each week, a focused skill session without posting about it. Within months, her nervous system registered different patterns. She no longer felt faintly sick at visibility. Opportunities arose that matched the steadiness she was becoming. That's not magic. That's coherence catching up with intention. A few practical notes on environmental curation. Media, conversations, and even household objects carry energy. Ask, does this phone feed uplift or fragment me? Does this person leave me more whole or more exhausted? Small boundaries are potent. You don't need to cut people out. You can choose time limits, set context for certain conversations, or create a daily window where you're offline. Energetic hygiene means being intentional about what shapes your attention. Another useful practice is the 1-minute recalibration. If you find yourself trapped in spiraling thought, stop, place both feet on the ground, feel the floor, notice the weight of your body. Breathe and name one small practical step you can take in the next 5 minutes. Even if you don't do it immediately, simply naming the step reduces the anxiety loop and invites the nervous system into choice. We also need to talk about emotion. Emotional granularity is a superpower for alignment. Instead of, I feel bad, try to get specific. I feel disappointed, or I feel embarrassed, or I feel tired. The more precise you are, the more available you become to respond skillfully. Emotions are data, not directives. They tell you where you're out of alignment. They don't condemn you. There will be days when you don't feel grounded. That's part of practice. Quiet practice doesn't outlaw struggle. It simply meets struggle with tools. It invites you to say, I am allowed to feel this, and I can still choose one small aligned action. That sentence is a hinge. It frees you to be human and to keep becoming. As you practice, remember that identity-based change unfolds gradually. Your body will be slow to accept a new you because it has survival wiring devoted to continuity. Help it with repetition, not force. Repeat the micro practices. Do the small actions. Honor interruptions with curiosity. Over time, neural pathways and cellular memory adapt. The field, whatever you call it, notices the consistency and starts to respond differently. That's the quiet power of becoming. Community remains a multiplier. Share micro practices with a friend. Join a small group focused on embodiment rather than spectacle. Or create a weekly accountability to check in on tone and small actions rather than results. When a group practices calm curiosity together, opportunities that suit that frequency become more visible and easier to step into. As we move toward a close, hold this central phrase. Manifestation isn't hard. It's quiet. Let that be your anchor, not a platitude. It's an operational principle. You don't need to scream your dreams into existence. You need to become the person who would naturally live in those dreams. Before we finish, I'll give you one short routine to try right now. It takes under 2 minutes. Sit comfortably. Place a hand on your heart. Take 3 slow breaths, allowing the exhale to be slightly longer than the inhale. On the 3rd exhale, say a single word intention out loud or in your head, one word only. It could be steady, open, clear, trust, present. Feel what that word textures in your body for one more breath. Then choose one tiny action you can take within the next hour that matches that word. Do it. That's it. Quiet, small, aligned. If you're willing, drop one word in the comments now. The energy you want to carry this week. One word only. That's our mid-video practice, a communal, quiet tuning. Read through other people's words, and let that collective frequency remind you you're not alone in settling into a calmer signal. I'll end with a daily practice you can use to hold all of this together. The morning micro protocol we walked through, the midday frequency check, and the evening review. Repeat it for 30 days, and notice patterns without judgment. This is not a promise of instant miracles. It's an invitation to become steady, to align your thought, emotion, and body, so your life begins to match that quiet signal you're practicing to broadcast. If this message helped you, and you want more invitations into slow, practical embodiment, subscribe now. When you subscribe, you join a space that values quiet practice and daily coherence over spectacle. There will be more experiments, more small rituals, and more stories of people learning to tune their signal rather than chase outcomes. Thank you for listening, for choosing to get quieter when the culture shouts louder. Manifestation isn't hard, it's quiet. Start with one breath, one word, one small action. Be patient with your nervous system. Trust that consistency wins. We'll meet here again quietly and do this work together. This work